Good day, and welcome to CJoy Yoga online studio and wellness channel. This little ditty is going to be for the lower body, like knees and below. So, how you're going to start this is you're just going to stabilize the femur bone of either leg, doesn't matter. And have your feet about hip distance, and we're going to keep our heel planted on the floor. And if we keep this femur stable, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to start to rotate. And you'll notice my toes are what you can visibly see, but I'm not trying to crank my toes over. I'm trying to rotate the tibia and the fibula, right? So I'm trying to rotate the lower leg, and the feet are just turning because of that rotation of the lower leg bones. So for any of my friends who do cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, snowboarding, you know, any of these kind of winter events, and I mean, I could tell you it even goes to running and walking and any kind of physical activity. This can be really, really beautiful work, strengthening, and mobility, right? We're starting to work towards the mobility of that joint. And then go ahead and just pause. Probably not super sensational. Don't think like, oh my God, if I don't feel sore tomorrow, I'm not doing anything. You are. You're going to grab that other femur bone and you're going to still that. Make sure that the rotation's not coming from the movement of the femur bone, right? And again, we keep our heel planted and we're going to rotate the tibia and the fibula, the lower leg. We're going to go ahead and rotate back and forth. And you can leave the foot lifted if you want to. I like to put it down and just take a moment of rest in between. And it's kind of cool. If you put your hand on either side closer to the knee, you start to feel some of the muscles that run into and through the knee activating, right? Or stretching long or contracting in as you move through these motions. So again, it's just a little bit of knee health. I like to think of this kind of stuff as vitamins for the physical body. And then come back to your neutral, right? Knees forward. So when my knees are forward, my right toes, they turn out just a little bit because I have a little bit of torsion in my lower leg. So for years, I did the toes forward because that's what all the yoga teachers said. And upon working with a couple of different body workers, I realized I'm actually amplifying, and that's part of the reason that I have a little bit of sensitivity in my inner right knee. So have your knees pointed straight forward, and then put your feet down and let your feet be where they may. And maybe you can play with that line, but we'll talk about that some other time, right? And then from that place, now we're going to play a little bit in the toes. And I'm not close in on them, but I think you're close enough that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to move back a little bit so I can come over so you can kind of see and I can point. So again, starting with either foot, it really doesn't matter. You're going to go ahead and you're going to try to lift just the big toe and leave the other 4 toes down on the earth. And put that big toe down. Now keep your big toe down and try to lift the other 4 toes all the way off the earth. And bring that down. If you're like, what? Touch your big toe. Give it sensory, right? Sensory sensation. And then keep your 4 toes down and try to lift just the big toe. I mean, I'm struggling to try not to lift my second toe. And bring that down. And then you're going to keep your big toe down. And again, if it helps you to feel those toes, you can touch them, right? It starts to make a mental map for your brain. And the toes come up. And bring that down. We articulate our fingers all the time. Go ahead and do it again, right? We grab things, we do things. So there are all kinds of mental maps that are running to our fingers so we can be super articulate and specific with our fingers, right? But it doesn't usually happen with our toes, and especially not modern society with us just shoving these, Tom Myers calls them sensory deprivation chambers is what he calls shoes. I love that. Okay, so now we're going to get more complex, and you're going to see how I can't do this, but I'm still trying. So you're going to lift all your toes up. And now you're going to try to peel down and bring down the pinky toe first, and then the second to the outerest. Second to the outerest? Yeah, I said that. And then the third, and then the fourth, and then the big toe. Now, when you go to lift them up, try to do that same thing. Pick up your pinky toe first, and then pick up the second from the farthest out, and then the third and the fourth. You saw all mine came up together, but I'm trying. And then my big toe comes up. Now try to reverse it. Bring the big toe down, and then bring down the second toe, and then bring down the third toe, and the fourth toe and the fifth toe. By the way, I have a couple of teachers who can do this because they practice this a lot. And then we're going to reverse that. So we're going to bring up the big toe, and then the second toe, and then the third toe, and then the fourth toe, and then the fifth toe, and bring that down. Last thing here is I want you to bring your toes up, and when you bring your toes up, if you have a responsive arch, right, when you start to push down through the ball mounds of both toes in the center of the heel, your arch responds, your inner arch picks up. And so keep your inner arch picked up, spread the toes out really, really, really wide, and then try to keep that arch picked up even as you bring those toes back down. Right? Our right arch always collapses. It's something that I am trying to encourage and strengthen. Try that one more time. Again, you're going to pick your toes up as high as you can. You're going to really try to ground down through the ball mounds of the big toe and the pinky toe in the very center of the heel. If you have a responsive arch, it just picked up. Try to keep it picked up. Try to keep the weight distribution. Spread the toes as much as you can and set them down. And again, I just like to share my story. When I started this, my toes, they barely separated at all. And now they've gotten quite good at being able to find that space. And then just go ahead and release that leg, that foot, and just notice what you notice. We're going to do the same toe yoga, foot yoga on this other side. So again, without touching anything the first time, you're going to go ahead and you're going to try to pick up just your big toe on that other foot. And bring that down. And then not the big toe, it stays down, but pick up the other 4 toes and try to pick them up. Synchronicity, synchronized. Wow, I'm good with English today. And set that back down. Ah! And then go ahead and pick up your big toe. And oh, this one wants to live so bad, I have to work it down. Feel free to touch it if that helps. And bring it down. It does help. It helps your mind mentally map it, right? And if again, feel free to touch those toes and then try to bring the toes up and leave the big toe down. And try to do that a couple more times, just paging between the two, and just notice what you notice. Is this side different than the other side? Technically, you're really working that opposite side of the brain. So I'm working my left toes, so my right hemisphere is really trying to map this out right now. And then from there, let the toes come on down. So now we're going to try and articulate toe by toe. So you're going to try to pick up. Oh, let's start by picking up all the toes. That's the easier of the ones. And then we're going to try to bring down the pinky toe, and then the second to the outside, the third, the fourth, and then the big toe. My big toe came down before that. That's second one over. And then we're going to try to reverse that. Pick up your pinky toe, and then pick up your second to the outside, your third to the outside, the fourth, this little piggy stuff, right? And let that big toe come on up. And now we're going to reverse that. Big toe down, second toe down. You can always touch it and try to push it and like get the brain to map it. Third toe, fourth, and then fifth or pinky. And then try to reverse that. Picking up the big toe and then the second and then the third. It's easier for me to pick up from big toe over, but when I go to put down, I can't put down that way, but I can put down pinky toe first. So you just start to see these patterns. It's interesting. I think it is anyway, but I'm a yoga nerd, anatomy nerd. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to push down through the ball mounds of the big toe and pinky toe and the middle of the heel and pick your toes up. And again, you might put your hand under there when you do that and just see, do I have a responsive arch? Not everybody does. Most of us do, but not everybody does. And that's a whole other ball of wax. That's good to know about yourself, right? As you pull those toes up and you keep that arch lifted, spread the toes as wide as you possibly can. If you want to use finger help, you can, but you might try once without and just notice. And then try to set those toes down as spread out as they can while still maintaining the lift of the inner arch. And lift those toes up. Again, my right arch falls every time. My left arch does pretty good here, right? And spread them wide and set them back down. And pick up all the toes, spread them wide, set them back down, knees straight forward. And just take a moment and just feel, right? It shouldn't be grippy, grippy. Don't get crazy with that. But yes, just that little bit of pressure of moving down. And does that then help the spine grow a little taller, even from there? Right? Namaste, friends. I hope you enjoyed your below the knee yoga. Or knee and below, I guess.